Hey, it's Steve here from Steve Shikatans. It's September 23rd, 2020. And today I want to talk about rejection. And I titled this Rejection, the Key to Success with a question mark. Um, I know all of you, most people that are starting a business or that are in business, um, even me today, um, rejection is probably the one thing that can be a key to success because it's something that we all deal with at some point. We usually start out, even as little kids. I watch my 5-year-old granddaughter playing, and she's really trying hard not to be rejected if she's playing with another 5-year-old. And even at that young age, it's important that they don't get rejected or feel rejected. And I mean, so I guess there's a fear instilled in us when we're very young about this fear of rejection. And if you want to start a business and if you want to do something great, the fact is that you're going to experience rejection. You're going to have people say no. You're going to get doors slammed in your face, and you're going to do things that are going to cause people to reject you. And I remember when I was in junior high school, I had such a huge fear of rejection. I wouldn't even ask a girl to go on a date. It was like because I did. And then there was other. I had a friend, Calvin. Yeah, man, he didn't care one iota about rejection. He'd ask 100 girls. Eventually one would say yes. And I had this terrible fear of rejection, and so I avoided putting myself in a situation at all costs for in case I was rejected. So, one of the Og Mandino, he wrote the book "The Greatest Salesman in the World." There you can see it there. I don't know if it's backwards, but Og Mandino, the greatest salesman in the world. In there, there's basically it's a story about this guy that lived a couple thousand years ago, and he wanted to. He was like a helper on a caravan of people that sold stuff, and his big desire in his life is he wanted to be a merchant. He wanted to sell stuff, so he got an opportunity, and he had like a jacket that he had to sell, and he spent and basically the story just goes on and on about how he tries to sell this jacket, and he's just rejected and he just keeps on. So there's a part in this book that says persist until I succeed, and I guess that's the part of rejection. Eventually, you got to read the book. I'm not going to give it away if you haven't read that book. Og Mandino, he's not around anymore, but what an incredible author. Very fortunate that we get to have his writings and learn from them. But anyway, the fear of rejection is what stops most people from succeeding. And most of the time, you'll be right there on the edge. And when I started out in business, I started with a health club. I went out and borrowed all this money. I made huge, tremendous mistake. I got credit cards. I mean, I went into debt massively, and the business just wasn't working. And I tried and tried. I worked day and night trying to keep that thing afloat. And after about a year and a half, the creditors came and they just shut me down. I couldn't pay the rent. I mean, it was a horrible experience. And the neat thing with going through something like that is what I learned of what not to do when I started another business again. So going through that failure really helped, and I kept reading books like Og Mandino and Napoleon Hill's writings, Think and Grow Rich, and kept that stuff. Back then we were listening to cassette tapes. Today you can listen to you can get on the internet and listen to stuff, iPad or iPods. I can't remember the name of it, but anyway, you can listen to stuff. Back then, I was listening to cassette tapes, and I would listen to these people that would teach this stuff over and over and over again, and just keep listening to it. And I came to the realization that if I was going to have business, first of all, I had get over this fear of rejection that I had, and that this avoidance and all this work I would do to so that I wouldn't have to be rejected, and it stopped me from asking for business and stuff like that. So I learned a lot there, and then I realized after all that business success. So anyway, I lost everything. I lost everything I owned at the time. I even sold my bed, and put that. I literally lost everything. I borrowed a vehicle from my dad, and they were nice enough to let me stay at their house for a period of time. And while I was recovering, at any rate, I went into debt at about $200,000. I had no job. I had no source of income. The economy was down at that time. This is in the '80s, early '80s, and I was pretty depressed. I made a decision, though, that I still wanted to be in business. As hard as that was to go through all that and to lose all that money, I still wanted to own a business. And all the stuff I was reading and things said you got to do, you got to do the exact opposite of what everybody that's doing. You got to do the exact opposite. And I knew I needed to get over this fear of rejection, this rejection problem that I had. And so I heard about door-to-door selling, and I thought, I started telling my friends and family about that. Hey, I'm thinking about, doing this door-to-door selling, and everybody I knew said that is the worst idea that anyone could ever. That is preposterous that you would do that. And so I thought about it for not very long, probably about 5 minutes. Thought that's what I'm going to do, and I determined and made up my mind that that's what I was going to do. So I started to make things in the. My dad was a woodshop teacher. He taught me a little bit about wood. So I made these paperweights, the Wyoming emblem out of wood. This paperweight, I made it from fence posts. So it didn't. The materials didn't cost me hardly anything. My dad let me use his shop. He had some tools in there, a bandsaw and a table saw, and I made these things and made these little paperweights, and I decided I was going to sell those door to door, and I literally spent a year doing that. Now when you sell door to door, when you go door to door, one of the things that's going to happen to you is you're going to experience rejection. There is absolutely no doubt. People slam doors. I've had doors slammed in my face so hard that I knew that I thought, if my nose would have been, 2 inches closer to that door, it'd have broke my nose. It'd have slammed my nose right to my face. And at first after you get enough doors slammed in your face, pretty soon you just quit taking it personally. You just stop taking it personal, and you just think to yourself, you know what, I'm not gonna I'm gonna keep going. One of the things I learned was that the law of averages, and that was also taught in that book by Og Mandino, is that persist until I succeed. There's this thing called a law of averages, and when it comes to do with numbers. And I started keeping track. I had a piece of paper, and I would write down. I had 2 columns on it, yes, no, and then sell. And I would write down those no, or not home, I guess was the other one, which was kind of like a no. But I figured out that I think if I remember right, it was about 21 doors I would knock on, I would get a yes. So I could just look at my piece of paper and count. If I was on 20, and if I was on number 20 and somebody slammed the door in my face, I started getting excited because I knew, man, that sale was coming up. And I think just that not giving up. But man, what I learned from that door-to-door selling, well, first of all, I'm not saying that you should do this. Probably now is maybe not a good time, but I learned a lot of stuff from that door-to-door selling. And one of the big things I learned is that, first of all, you get exercise, you're outside, you get to meet people, you get to go, and yeah, there's a fear factor because you don't know what you're going to get. People come to the door. A lot of times you just knock on the door, no one's home. And so I always looked at it like, oh, this is like exercise. I'm getting my exercise and I'm outdoors, and some of it is just mindset. But the other thing is just one of the things I learned is that people aren't as bad as what I pictured. They're not screaming and yelling at me. Yeah, I remember one guy told me, he said, he kind of like talked down to me, and he said, "What are you doing? you're out here selling this thing. What are you doing? What are you doing with your life? You're young. You didn't go to college. What are you doing? And I did think about that a little bit. I did think about that, but I you know I decided, you know what, I don't have to listen to that. I knew that what I was doing was, I did have visions of trying to get, like every other person I talked to buy from me, and I never did accomplish that, and it never turned out to be something big. I did end up hiring a few people. At one point, I had 4 people hired, and I trained them how to, I had a script, and I trained them how to sell. So the persistence, I just kept going. I didn't give up, and I kept changing what I was doing, and I found something that worked. And yeah, I had to knock on 20 doors to get a yes, but it was exciting. And I know I never made a lot of money doing it. I mean, I think one day, this is back in the 80s, one day I made like $250, and that'd be like probably making about $1,500 today. And I was so excited, but that didn't happen very often. But boy, the stuff I learned, and about, getting over that rejection, and, realizing that, for the most part, especially in America, people are absolutely wonderful. People are, every once in a while you find, very rarely do I find somebody, I can't say that I don't know that I've found hardly, I can't think of maybe just a few people, handful of people of all the thousands of people I've sold to and talked to and met in this life. I can't think of only maybe 2 or 3 that I think are really bad, evil people. There's some people that have different personalities, but people are wonderful, and they're kind. Most, there's some out there that aren't good, but I mean, 99.999% of the people are incredible people, and even the ones that slam the door in my face. I always figured, I had people that when I opened the door, they were so down on their luck. And one of the neat things is, I would always try to be nice. Well, have a night, have a great day. I was sincere, and I didn't want to. I told people that you're going to. We only pass through this life once, and I remember a lady one time, and something happened. She didn't say, but you could just tell on her face. Somebody died that was close to her, or something like that happened, and she couldn't even hardly talk. She was emotional, and she closed the door, and I said, okay, thank you, and I left. And it gave me an opportunity to say a short prayer for her. Help God help her to get through what she's going through. And so, man, the stuff I learned, that people are okay, and the other thing is, serve people. Do something big, set your goals big, but include in there to serve people. Ultimately what we're doing is we're building relationships, and we are serving people, and that's some of the stuff I've learned. And dealing with rejection, it's like, if you want a course in dealing with rejection, do something where you're selling door to door, or you have to call on businesses. And once you get over that, once I got over that fear, I really, it didn't take that long to get over it. I'd say maybe a week, of doing it. And then write it down what you want to do, and go for it. And it may not be selling door to door. It might be whatever your fear is. Face it, and you'll find some great success. I've kind of gone on and on with this, but rejection, the key to success. I think it is, and I think the thing is taking rejection in the right way. So I hope this can help you today. I know a lot of you are have this fear of rejection. I think that's probably one of the number one things with people in any walks of their lives, but especially people, business owners. That this fear of rejection. The big successes that you hear about are the ones that get rejected over and over and over again. And they hold on to that dream, and they just keep going until they finally find a yes. I heard about somebody that was trying to get a business funded, and they went to something like 35 banks to get the money to fund it, and all of them said, nope, we're not on board with this. And then finally one bank did, and that bank actually ended up, it became a huge success, and the bank made a lot of money from it. But the point I'm trying to make is, when you're rejected, don't give up. And that's always been throughout my these talks is, you know, if there's anything in my life, I guess that would that I could go back on and say, you know, why do you get to a point where of success, and it's just this point of not giving up. Just don't give up. When you get to the end of your rope, tie a knot and hang on. You know, things will get better. I just don't give up. You know, usually you're at the point where you're going to experience success is when that point is when everything in you is saying to give up, and don't do it. Just hang in there. Don't give up, and I'm telling you, it'll happen for you. So rejection, the key to success, I think it is. So have a great day, and go for it, and don't give up. Talk to you later.